My roommate, my oh-so-lovely roommate, had managed to avoid both the gas and electricity bill for a solid 3 months. Now we're on the edge of getting evicted. So just pay the bill, right? Nope. She's got no money on her account. So I'm going to cover the bill, and she'll get me back once her parents send her some cash. Now, not optimal, but not a disaster. What's that? You can only pay the bill through the company's smartphone app? Well, that's mighty inconvenient for someone who doesn't own a smartphone, isn't it? I tell her we need to pay the bill. She tells me it's not due until tomorrow afternoon. And she has a Film and Television Society house party to get to. I tell her the bill was due 3 months ago, and 3 p.m. is just the deadline till we start the process of getting kicked out on the street. Tomato, tomato, she says. Paying won't take more than 5 minutes, she says. She'll be back by morning, she says. We'll sort it out then. Obviously, given my luck, she's not back by morning. Great. She's not back by noon. Even better. So I start to accept the fact that she's not coming back anytime soon. So I sprint over to the cafe across the street and complain to the barista so my head doesn't explode. He doesn't offer up his phone, but he tells me his friend in the pawn shop up the street sells phones for very cheap. This information comes with a wink. I ask him how much. He tells me. I don't ask whether the phones are stolen. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. I go back home, and the roommate is still nowhere to be found. Not only are my chances of getting evicted becoming palpable, but there's also somewhere I gotta be in an hour. A lecture. A mandatory class that I didn't know was mandatory until last week. 1 p.m. Can't afford to miss it. Like, literally. I'm getting kicked out of uni unless I make this lecture. And after a solid 5 minutes of pacing, I sprint up the street to the pawn shop the barista mentioned. Not only is the place sketchy as all hell, but the guy behind the counter starts telling me he's not sure if he can sell me this discount phone. I lose my cool and start yelling. Kind of went blind with rage for a second. But when I came to, there's a phone in my hand, and the guy behind the counter is asking me to leave. I figure my day just got considerably better. I figured wrong. Real wrong. First of all, there's a bazillion questions to answer when you're even setting up the phone. Secondly, the size of the application to actually pay the gas bill is massive. And finally, the most frustrating of all, I'm getting text messages. There's no SIM in the phone, but I'm getting text messages. I block the number, sprint to the cafe, and get the Wi-Fi password. The app still takes ages to download, and the barista keeps on trying to chat with me, but I managed to get the bill sorted out. The moment I get the confirmation email, I dash out the cafe and run towards the bus. I had a 30-minute commute in front of me, with just about 30 minutes to spare to get to the class. And that's when I first saw him. When I rushed by him, all I noticed was the horrid smell and his giant form. But even that was a passing thought in midst of a mad rush to make it to the bus. It wasn't until I collapsed in the seat that I could fully appreciate what I had run by. A fat mountain of a horribly unhealthy man draped in a lab coat. The guy looked straight at me, smiling, walking blindly through traffic towards the bus. I considered myself lucky when the doors closed and the unhinged-looking giant disappeared in the distance. I'm not a lucky person. I should have known then that something was wrong.
No more beggars. No more next. No,
Another string of texts. Same blocked number. I deleted the messages and blocked the number again. The possibility of the stranger in the dirty lab coat and the phone being connected didn't cross my mind in the least bit. I was way too focused on the bus clock ticking down towards my lecture. I was still making it on time, but my chest definitely felt like I was already 15 minutes late.
Oh, none can defy Burak. No one can escape the garbage grid. No one can escape the company of Professor Egghead.
I decided to take initiative and text back. "Wrong number," I wrote. Before I had a chance to block the number again, the phone started to ring. "Hi, you have the wrong number. Please don't call me again," I said, with as much strictness as I could muster. In response, I got an infinite sea of harsh static. Somewhere within that hush, though, there was a voice. Ugly and high-pitched and manic, it crawled into existence.
No, wrong number, no. This is the right number. Your friend is with us now. You will meet my assistant soon, and he will bring you to me so that I can examine you. No one can escape the company of...
I hung up the call and shut off the phone. The bill was paid. The phone didn't have to be turned on. In fact, I no longer needed a phone. Plan was to go back to the pawn shop as soon as my class was over and return the presumably stolen goods. I had absolutely zero interest in what the previous owner was up to or what the voice on the other side of the phone wanted. I had enough of my own problems to deal with. So I'm sitting there, just trying to keep my shit together, watching the stations and bus clock like a hawk. Everything's going smooth. The driver seems to be audibly enjoying shutting the door in people's faces if they're running late. This sadist is going to ensure I don't get kicked out of uni, I figure. But then the bus stops. The numbers on the clock tick down and the bus keeps standing. I walk up to the driver trying to figure out why we aren't moving. There's an accident up ahead. Nothing particularly gnarly, just 2 cars that kissed on a busy road. I ask him if he can let me out. He couldn't be slower about getting the doors open. This guy actively enjoys me being late. So I get out on the road and I sprint. I'm literally a single station away from uni, and there's the slimmest chances of me still making it on time. That slim thread of hope is severed about 30 seconds into the sprint, when I realize how out of shape I am. But I figure I can still make it at least 5 minutes late. I couldn't remember anything about the lecturer, but I really hoped she wouldn't be cruel enough to fail me for coming in 5 minutes into the lecture. I made it into the university building, bathed in sweat, out of breath, and about 6 minutes late. I had to shove my way through a crowd of freshers to get down to the labs. The idiots were crowding the doors and chatting like they were back in grade school. It's while I was yelling at them that I noticed him. Outside. He was riding down towards the uni on one of those electric scooters people throw into rivers. The way that the little set of wheels kept him balanced, regardless of his mammoth size, was a marvel of physics. This guy stops the scooter with the unnerving grace of a ballerina and then calmly wobbles his way towards the university. Now, sure, the thought that the street scientist was stalking me did start to shimmer in the back of my mind. I definitely had a moment when I thought, yeah, this guy might be trouble. But whatever concern I had about the obese drifter in the lab coat was hushed under the realization that it was 1:07. Syllabus clearly said that anyone past 10 minutes late would be absent. Dealing with the weirdo would have to wait. I was not going to fail that class. I sprinted down the stairs towards the university's labs. The fact that the stairs were steep enough to dissuade the strange man's stubby legs calmed me down somewhat. The labs didn't. So, I know that the lecture is taking place in Lab C3. That's helpful. What isn't helpful is that all the corridors are nearly identical, and that the names of the labs are printed in the tiniest of fonts. What makes the task of finding the lecture hall nearly impossible is that some of the labs are named after school contributors. I burst into 3 different labs before I find the right one. When I smash through the doors of Lab C3, the lecturer doesn't mention that I'm late. She just asks me whether I was at the Film and Television Society party last night as well. I say I wasn't. And then she says something, but I'm not listening. The rest of the seats are empty. I'm the only one who showed up. She says something about society parties ruining the work ethic of students, and then says she'll wait 5 minutes before the lecture, just in case someone else decided to get out of bed today. I don't mind. I immediately make my way towards the sign-in sheet, jot down my signature, and collapse in the closest chair. Bill is paid, expulsion avoided. I consider myself safe. But then the phone dings with a message. I immediately pull it out, mute it, and turn it off, but the loud chime does not go unnoticed. The lecturer glares at me as if I just puked in the middle of the royal wedding. She asks me if I did the reading for the class. I say I did. She asks me what I thought about it. I say I thought it was interesting. My phone chimes again.
No one can, especially the company of Professor Egghead.
My phone starts to ring again. The lecturer screams at me to leave. I don't argue. My name is on the sign-in sheet, and for all the registrar office will know, I attended the full class. I walk out into the hallway, pick up the call, and start to deal with the third looming problem of the day. I thought that maybe talking to this Professor Egghead would fix everything. So I pick up the call and calmly tell him that I bought the phone from a pawn shop and that I was going to return it. I give him the address of the shop and my assurances that the phone will be back at the store the next day. It's like I didn't say a word. The voice on the other end starts screeching again.
Once you will accept the telecommunication device, you are part of the experiment.
The guy is unhinged. He goes on about an assistant coming to retrieve me, and he's screaming about science, and it's all too much. I hang up again. I hang up the phone. And it's in that moment that the connection hits me. The giant street scientist, the phone, they're connected. And just as the idea enters my mind, I gag. The smell hits me like a speeding bus, rotten eggs and matches. Following that smell comes a deafening series of thuds. Down by the stairs, recovering from a horrible fall, sits a mass of flesh draped in a lab coat. Shit, I think. Why couldn't my roommate just pay the fucking gas bill on time? With a high-pitched sigh, the man climbs back up to his stubby feet. The fall down the stairs split this guy's head open, but he doesn't seem to give a shit. With blood running down his malformed face, he starts to wobble towards me. For a moment, I consider running back to the lecturer, but she's like 60 and wouldn't be of any help against a mentally unstable giant. There's only one way out. The stairs. Sure, there's a phosphorus-smelling obstacle in my way, but I figure I can squeeze past him. I figure wrong. Running towards the giant, I feel no fear. Fortified by the head injury, his gaze is completely vacant. His eyes are void of reflex. It looks like he's sleepwalking, or more accurately, sleep rolling on the floor. Yet the moment I pass him, his stubby fingers launch like a filthy panther. He grabs me far too tight by my arm and lifts me up in the air. There's still zero expression in his eyes, but when I'm up in the air, kicking and screaming for help, the giant's mouth opens into a wide, sharp-toothed smile. His grip tightens and a lightning bolt of pain travels up towards my chest. It's not just pain, though. Somewhere beneath the burning ache, there's something else. I'm raised up in the air, kicking my feet, but somehow that feeling of weightlessness gets stronger with each second. My mind goes faint. The world starts to hiss away through a tidal wave of static.
No one escapes the company of Professor Egghead.
Past the sharp gray fog, I see a silhouette. I see a silhouette of an egg.
You are now a part of the control group. When humanity withers, you are beneath the crushing force of incomprehensible science. Professor Egghead will keep you safe. No one escapes the company of...
The hallway floor meets me like an angry bouncer. Above me, the filthy giant holds out his hand in midair, confused. Below him, with my limbs lubricated with sweat, I sit free of his embrace. The moment I realize I'm free, I kick the guy as hard as I can, climb to my knees and sprint up the stairs like my life depends on it. That wave of static comes crashing back. I barely reach the top of the stairs before I have to hold myself up against the railing. My sweaty palms nearly slip me down the stairs, but once I catch my breath, my vision calms. Down below, the sickly giant glares at the stairs that are far too steep for him. And for a moment, I feel safe. But then the guy throws himself onto the stairway like he's doing a trust fall. The thud of his head hitting the stairs sounds like a death knell. But in an instant, the mass of flesh pulls itself up to its stubby limbs and starts crawling up towards me. It's like 1:15, and classes are in session. There's no one around. Beyond the glass doors of the university, there's a scooter that I can't outrun. Hoping to find more people, I dash into the library. The phone rings again. Muscle memory takes over and I shut that horrid sound off almost immediately. But I stop before I put the phone back in my pocket.
Once you will accept the telecommunication device, you are part of the experiment.
I slide the phone across one of the study desks with no regard for where it goes. Then I beeline it towards the one beanbag where I sometimes take naps between classes. It's a good hiding spot. To make it an even better hiding spot, I crawl beneath the beanbag. It's stuffy, and my heart is racing and I'm barely holding my shit together, but past my hyperventilating, I can hear two freshers.
Is this yours?
No, I thought it was yours.
I lift up the beanbag to let in some fresh air. The library smells of phosphorus.
Hey, dude, what are you doing?
No one's looking. Got a friend who buys these things.
Beneath their voices, I hear a high-pitched moan.
What if someone calls it?
It's off. Calm down, man.
Heavy feet waddle down the library carpet.
Dude, stealing's like really lame. Shh.
That hush is back. I start feeling lightheaded again. Somewhere within that static, I see the outline of an egg.
Good job, dude. Everyone's looking at us. Can't even put the phone on the table without being obvious. Whatever. It's a multiple choice quiz anyway. Screw studying. Gonna head home.
Everything fades beneath the rush of blood to my ears. I climb out from beneath the beanbag, gasping for air, but I am blind. There is no library. There is only static. And within that static is a silhouette of an egg. Professor Egghead screams through my soul.
No one can escape the company of Professor Egghead. The number is always correct. I have dialed 1,000 phones throughout my scientific career, and I have never had a phone call that could be described as less than excellent. I am Professor Egghead, and I would never make a mistake on the phone, or anywhere else in this mortal realm for that matter. I am Professor Egghead, and no one can escape the company of...
A breath of fresh air. I'm still sprawled out on the library floor, but I can feel my limbs. I hide back under the beanbag for a solid minute or two, making sure that weird giant isn't hiding somewhere behind a bookshelf. But as my heart rate slows down, I climb up to my feet and look around. The study desk is empty. The phone is gone. The phone is gone, and so is the giant. I let out a sigh of relief at having solved my third major problem of the day. That feeling of accomplishment doesn't last long, though. Outside, riding up the hill on his bike, I see the kid from the study desk. Behind him, defying the laws of balance with his lab coat fluttering in the wind, rides the sickly giant. I feel bad for the kid, but not for long. I'm just happy the gas bill got paid and I didn't get expelled.